Oh, and lots of hits into the wall there on the outside. Some people struggling in the midfield, but Maron Renata up into second. Oh, as I think that was Sebastian Kühn going around. Indeed it was. Dominik Lala already missing a headlight as well. And everyone's struggling to get the power down out of turn 3.
Yeah, there's a lot of shoulder checking into turn 1 there, in the wall. Not each other necessarily, but not the best way to go around that corner.
Oh, and Maron Renata seems to have some technical issues. That means Julian Chico up into second now. Who's behind him? It's Adrian Lunio in third. Kind of unusual to not see him in the Founders Livery car, but here we are. And Dominik Lala now with a good lead over Julian Chico in the Audi. Sebastian Kühn is still rolling as well. He has some damage to the rear right. I think he got a pretty hefty hit there. Maybe leading to the spin. Or catched out during the spin. But here goes Beres on the inside of Dennis Kurzer. Can't quite make it. And on the back of this train, actually, Enrico Breuninger, he started from the far back of the field. He didn't set a lap time in qualifying. But his start went fairly well, I guess. And judging by the state of his car, he didn't have any or too many incidents. Gap up front is staying pretty solid between Julian Chico, who goes right up to the wall, exiting the final turn. Which is very tricky because the wall really comes towards you. But now right on the bumper of Dominik Lala. Oh, and Weberis contact with Kurzer, that's Häusler slipping through. And Dominik Lala actually lost the lead to Julian Chico now. So Julian Chico from, I think it was 4th or 5th on the grid, up into P1. But the damage on the front left of Dominik Lala's Porsche is quite severe. On the other hand, he just has to finish this race and basically has secured the title. Because Joachim Thunder is not here in this race today.
No, I was surprised not to see Thunder here today. I don't know why he's not turned up, but it has kind of handed a golden opportunity to Dominik Lala to secure his 4th series win.
Indeed. So far undisputed, the only RCL's champion. And Dennis Kurzer really struggling right now. Eric Häusler with that long gone, but Bruno Weberis in behind that Audi. Couldn't quite find a way past yet. So far we lost 4 people, which for, well, Orchard Road is not too bad, I guess. And Dominik Lala already into the pits. guess he is off to
Yeah.
repair some damage and refuel. Of course, you still have to refuel for this race.
Yeah, he might as well take the opportunity early, get his damage fixed up, maybe get himself a bit of clean air as well, and be able to pick up the pace a little bit.
That's a tricky thing with Orca Road is it's not easy to overtake, since it's quite narrow. You have some good overtaking opportunities, but it is quite cramped, and finding your spot on the track is very important for the long run. And I think he was a bit stuck with Lunio and Chico as well.
Yeah, he's got a good amount of space around him now. He's about half a lap away from the rest of the field, so he's got a lot of space for him to just settle down, find his own pace. And a brand new car.
He has to make up for the time lost in the pits now, of course.
He does, yes.
And Julien Chicot, he is putting down some fire laps. He's in the low 12s. Pretty much the only one to do so. Eric Häusler, I think, is the fastest car after him with a 12.7. In third at the moment. So he's hunting down Adrian Lunio.
Yeah, the field spread out a little bit with the chaos at the beginning, but there's quite a bit of pace difference up and down the field right now. People finding their own pace and settling into a race rhythm, but some of those gaps will widen, some of them are going to close up. Häusler already closing up the gap a little bit to Adrian Lunio.
You know, I think Dennis Kurzer is also already in the pits. Not quite sure why the Delta's not updating at the moment. Oh, he is, but he's nearly lapped down on Dominic Lada. I was a bit confused by that. So he must have had some major repairs. Oh, and Lunio off in turn 1. Into the access road, the Frenchman goes. It's now a tricky situation.
Yeah, he's come out right in the middle of the traffic, which makes rejoining difficult. But that's dropped him all the way down to 5th.
Managed it well, also. But look who's in front of him. That's Timothy Fridge.
Yeah, and they've been running a fairly similar pace up to now, so he might find it difficult to get past Fridge.
And this is a major help as well for Dominic Ladler to offset the time he lost in the pits with the repairs. He lost, I think, about 10 or 12 seconds due to repairs.
Yeah, it was something around there, yeah.
And especially if these two start fighting, they will lose more time. He might come out in front of them.
It's still Julien Chicot. It's got a fairly decent lead now with Adrian Lunio dropping back. But if he's not too fussed about winning, then yeah, it'll definitely play into his hands.
Will this maybe be the time for Julien Chicot to come out and win this race?
Of course, the other downside of Adrian Lunio dropping back is you've completely lost your chance to say about the top 4 drivers having different manufacturers.
That is a very good point. I completely missed that opportunity as well. So I kind of deserved that one.
You're dropping the ball.
Very different lines.
Got Thunder in chat here, so just asking me why Dominic Ladler is in P8. He pitted already?
Indeed, the first one to come into the pits. And I think only one of 2 cars with Kurzer as well as Lunio has passed the Porsche of Timothy Fish. So now we have 4 different cars in the top 4. And he's catching up to Dennis Kurzer. It's kind of confusing that both the Audis we have at the moment in this race run the same livery.
Those pesky drivers, they just don't think about us, do they?
Well, Lala apparently thinks about Thunder a lot because he's taking the Katowice livery in honor to Joachim, who's of course not here in this race. Which I actually like a lot. And the next one to get under pressure from the AMG of Adrian Lunio will be Bruno Weberis.
Yeah, his race pace has been a little slower than Adrian Lunio's so far, so he'll be looking to find a way past before Timothy Fritsch catches up.
Bit of a double move there. I'm not sure if Alizar will appreciate that. But he's showing himself. That wall is really terrifying there, coming towards you out of that final turn.
It is very much so, because you are drifting slowly towards it for a long time.
And up into P3 goes Adrian Lunio.
Bruno Weberis tried to fight back there, but couldn't quite make it stick.
Indeed, and Lewis again just behind the train, who was a bit lost for a certain time, but who's now back. Enrico Bräuniger. Just behind the Porsche with the same livery actually to him, of Timothy Fritsch.
Yeah, we've got a bit of a 4-car train going on here, haven't we? Which is good, always good to see.
I think it will be very interesting down the main straight here. Wouldn't even be surprised if we see a little bump draft. And talking about bump drafting, there has been... I wanted to tell you something, but Enrico Bräuniger is now coming into the pits. So he is trying the undercut, I presume. Very interesting choice there. But I like that. So you won't see any bump drafting now, but you might see it on Sunday, even though not on this channel. But if you attend the 2.5-hour race at Daytona at 7 PM CET, which will be held instead of the normal multi-class race, you can see all the info about it in the Discord. Will be Hypercars, GT3s, Daytona, of course. And yeah, 2.4-hour race. Last time we had it is quite a while ago. Actually, I think 9 months, 7 months, something like that.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
At Spa. And we are bringing it back here for Daytona, even though not as a broadcasted event. But if you want to enjoy the same cars in a broadcasted event, next week on Saturday, we will have an RCE at Monza with Hypercars and GT3s. And I'm sure we'll also see some bump drafting there. I think it's the closest we will ever get to Daytona on the European side of things. Dominic Lala's actually catching up to a car himself if we take a look at the track map. He has Piotr Zdaibel in front of him, who's running in 7th. We haven't mentioned him yet. But of course, after the last few races, he's definitely one to look out for. Bit of a dark horse, but...
Yeah, he's maybe a bit less familiar with Orchard Road than some of these guys are, just starting out on RENNSPORT as he is. Got a bit of damage to the front of that BMW as well.
Well, but so did Lala at some point in this race. So
But yeah, that's true.
I guess that's fair. But this one is for position. 7th to be exact. And the gap between Ladler and Bräuniger is 6 seconds. So if the rest of the cars in the train we had before stay out for a bit more, They might be actually a bit of in danger of coming in between Bräuninger and Ladler. And Timothy Fridge is coming in right now. Let's see if the undercut worked for Enrico Bräuninger. Indeed it did. And Dominic Ladler will also come through.
Fritsch has got a fairly hefty repair bill to pay off as well, so he's getting a bunch of repairs done right now.
I think we will see plenty more of this.
Yeah, that's true.
And Julian Chico still out there, close to a 10-second lead over Eric Häusler. Still looking for his first win.
Fritsch has just come off the Ajax and is leaving the pit lane now.
Oh, and Dennis Kurzer with a majorly wrecked car.
Yeah, I saw him stationary in the yellow sector indicator on the map, so I'm imagining he had a bit of a ping-pong ball situation. He was on his own, so it was an unforced error, shall we say.
Bräuninger just ever so slightly brushing the wall there.
Dominic Ladler been showing the yellow flags and was a very near miss coming round a corner.
Well, I guess it's back in the pits for the 11 car. But Bruno Riberos didn't fall off a lot from Adrian Lunio. It's about
No, he's
2.5
not been
seconds.
massively gapped. The pace from kind of the third driver back seems to be quite a bit slower than those two ahead at the minute. Except for Dominic Ladler and Enrico Bräuninger. They seem to be holding pretty decent race pace right now.
And of course they both have pitted. The top 4 have not, so they might be on a very good track here.
Ladler being the only other driver to be into the 12s now. He's done a couple of 12 laps.
Depending if Eric Häusler decides to repair damage or not, he might also not be quite safe in his position. I mean, there is quite the same amount of damage that we've seen on Ladler's car.
Yeah, Häusler's not got a working headlight, as you can see. Got a bit of crumpling, but it's not too much. Obviously difficult to tell how his suspension's faring just by looking at his car. He might be having... but his pace is good, so he seems to be able to handle the car okay.
Julian Chico running into a bit of traffic here. Traffic in question being Piotr Zadaibe, who's obliging to give way. So
Dominic Ladler just taking the fastest lap of the race, doing a 1:12.2.
He's getting very close to Bräuninger fast. He was, I think, 4 seconds away about 2 laps ago. Of course, the lap I talked about being pretty short, but down to 2 seconds now.
Yeah, the last lap he was almost 2 seconds a lap quicker than Bräuninger, so he's really got in his groove now.
Oh, and the 12 is into the pits. That's Adrian Lunio. And has Lunio spun in the pit entry? Because he was stationary for quite some time there on the entry. And Browning and Lala are way past Weberus and Lunio. But what happened to Lunio? Is also still stationary. Weberus is out of the pits again.
He's been getting some repairs done, so he maybe did spin going into the pits.
Well, that's a new one, even for us. Krystall now into the pits. Will be interesting to see where he comes out.
I think Julian Sicko is going to have to come in this lap. He's running pretty dry on fuel right now.
Let's see what the gap is between Häusler and Groninger. It's about 20 seconds. Groninger now really under pressure from Ladler. Out to the inside. That's one of the tightest turns on the course. Dominik Ladler against Bräuniger, side by side. Back into the sunlight. Beautiful defense there by Bräuniger. But Ladler is really wanting to come by.
Yeah, he held his nerve on the left-hander there, knowing that he was going to have the inside line for the right. But it was close. I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to keep it.
Ladler again to the inside. Maybe now...
Same problem again.
But now he has a good run. Was able to get the power down much earlier. And being on the outside here might not be the worst thing. Because he can carry a lot more speed through this right-hander. Oh, and Bräuniger lost the car. And oh, big contact between the two of them. And I think Ladler with huge damage to the front left of the car. Huge suspension damage.
Yeah, that was a lot of damage there, but he did correct Bräuniger, so in some ways it made it better than it would have been.
Yeah, but I don't think Ladler can continue with that car. I mean, it was plain unlucky, this one.
It was, yes. It was a racing incident for sure.
But for Dominik Ladler, these are some indeed coming into the pits. Let's see where he can come out. Bruno Beres is definitely coming through. What about Piotr Zadaibe? We shall wait and see, but very unlucky situation for both of them. And Piotr Zadaibe is actually also coming into the pits. That is Julian Sicko and Timothy Fritsch. Sicko already a lap up on Ladler then.
Yeah, he's going to come out somewhere after Häusler.
On track that is, of course, in terms of position. There is a lap difference between these two Porsches now. But he only has a 7.6 second gap to the car in front, which is Adrian Lunio. So there's still some places to regain. Timothy Fitch also isn't far away. Oh, and Piotr Zadalbe spun coming out of turn 2. The usual 5-point turn you have in those GT3s.
That is not a happy BMW M4 right now.
Could be happier.
Not really been mentioning Julian Sicko much because he's just been walking off into the distance this race so far, but he's been doing really consistent lap times. He's definitely deserving the position he's got right now. His pace and his consistency have both been very good.
It's now a very tricky situation for Dominik Lalo because of course he's a lap down on Häusler. You are allowed to unlap yourself, but you also of course need the pace to get away from the car you are relapping against.
Now, Häusler's got plenty of space in front and behind of him at the minute. I think given the pace that Dominik Ladler's been having this race, it might just be easier to let him through.
And you just need to remember, in terms of Dominik Ladler, he basically only needs to finish this race in a somewhat decent position, and he will have the championship in the bag. If we take a look at the current standings, he has a 132-point gap to Joachim Thunder. Of course, is not going to score here. The gap to Timothy Fitch, who is going to score if things stay as they are, will grow just, or shrink just slightly, but it's 240 points. And he can somewhat calculate with 150 points for a race win. So he would still become the season 4 champion if he were to just finish the race in this position.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't need to do anything, but I think we both know that Dominik Ladler would rather finish further up than he is.
Of course, but with the luck he had today, maybe he wants to just settle for it. But I mean, we know that he's not a driver who's usually giving up anything.
I wonder if his plan at the minute, though, is because they are catching with Timothy Fitch with Adrian Lunio quite a lot, and he knows that the car in front of him will get the blue flag, so maybe he can sneak through.
I wouldn't be surprised. That sounds like a very Ladler thing to do. On the other hand, Eric Häusler is also seriously fast, so it's not like he can just walk by.
Oh no, he is faster than Häusler, but only by a little bit, yeah.
And you really kind of need the pace advantage. Even though he's definitely showing himself. Oh, and Lunio, he's leaving Eric Häusler through. Did he just calculate it right to still come back in front of Dominik Ladler? Oh, and absolutely missing the braking point into turn 1. And now that is interesting. And that is a DNF for Adrian Lunio, who just absolutely blasted the car into the turn 1 barriers. And Eric Häusler also spun coming out of turn 3. Dominik Lada now freed from him. I think there's a lot to unpack here.
A lot happened in a very short space of time there. But yeah, Dominic Ladler's been given a bit more free rein again. He's got a lot of clean air around him and lots of open road to pick up his pace and see what he can make happen with what he's been given.
So maybe to give you a rundown how it's looking right now. Julian Chicot out in the lead by 30 seconds to Eric Häusler. Then it's Enrico Bruiniger, the man who started from P12 in third. He played it very well. Like, you can't put it in any other way. Just let the carnage unfold in front of him and made it to his advantage. And Bruno Weberis in fourth. Pretty much the same thing. He was involved in a few fights with, for example, Fridge and Lunio. But apart from that, he had a pretty decent and silent race. Currently sitting in fourth, and Timothy Fridge in fifth. He had a few damage repairs, but apart from that, pretty much the same thing as for Weberis. But there's only a 10-second gap to Dominik Lala, and Dominik Lala, after all the misfortune he had, seems to have awoken some kind of demon, because he's still lapping in the low 112s, or mid 112s, on 30-minute-old tires.
He's got a heck of a gap to make up in the next 12 minutes of racing, but the way Ladler's driving right now, you wouldn't put it past him.
The only one who's even close to that pace is Julian Chicot.
Yeah.
That basically tells you everything you need to know. He's coming up to Piotr Zadaibe. But for Julian Chicot, you really gotta give it to him in this race. He had so much misfortune in the other races. Oh, and maybe not jinx it too early, but this really seems to be his best shot at finally capturing that first win in an official event.
It's definitely going well for him at the minute. He's gonna be a bit nervous for the next 10 minutes maybe. But he's got a good lead. So he's gonna be there's gonna be some confidence creeping in there.
And I mean, he really earned that position on track. It was not like it was given to him or anything. He made his way past Ladler early in the race and never looked back. He wasn't the one really profiting from any chaos. He just made it through. Gap between Fridge and Ladler, 7 seconds.
Ladler's last lap was wow, that's a sentence. Ladler's last lap was nearly a second faster than Julian Chicot's. He's absolutely screaming in that Porsche right now.
for Timothy Fritz. This might also be a good helping step towards P3 in this championship.
The gap between Frisch and Ladler is now down to 5 seconds. He's charging to try and close that gap up. It's taking him about 5 minutes to close it by half. 8 minutes of the race left. So he could definitely catch him, but catching and overtaking are two very different things.
I think we will see about 6 to 7 more laps, so if he continues at this rate, he might have a shot in the last two. But driving around this course won't get any easier for anyone.
The first lap for a while where Dominic Ladler hasn't done a 1 minute 12 has dropped to the almost mortal 1 minute 13.3.
Had some big drifts to the last two turns as well. But he has to try. I mean, he has nothing really to lose. Piotr Zadaibe is a long way down, so he can only gain.
Yeah, for sure. He's got a lot of space to go for it. He doesn't need to hold back necessarily, does he?
If I was in that situation, I also wouldn't want to hold back, to be honest.
No, that is very true.
I don't think he would feel in a very different way.
Julian Segura hitting a bit of traffic, but he's not going to be in any particular rush to get past.
The interesting situation is, of course, the Audi in front of Bruno Weberis, being the same livery as Julian Chico, is a lap down on Bruno Weberis himself, so he kind of have a lapping inception. Weberis getting out of the way for Chico, and probably is gonna slip through with Chico on Kurzer.
Yeah, hopefully. If the timing works, it's always good when you can do that as the driver in front. Just pull over once. Oh, it completely stopped.
Can't make any more way than this, I guess. But the gap between Lala and Fridge is down to 2.5 seconds with 5 minutes to go.
Let's see how wide Fritsch can make that Audi for the next couple of laps.
For
He's
me,
got, what, 3 laps left? Maybe 4?
Maybe 4. It really depends on where Chico is. Chico's in front of them, don't forget that.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
they will have essentially a lap less than, or half a lap less. But the question is, does Lala even need that one more lap? Because he's already a second closer than he was when we started spectating him again. Here's Timothy Fritsch well in his sights. Enrico Breuninger must have had a very lonely race since that incident with Dominic Lade, because he's on the completely opposite end of everyone on the track.
Yeah, he's got a 20-second gap in front and behind, so he's completely in no man's land at the minute. Not where I like to be in a race, personally.
Rather always be right in the action. Now in the slipstream. 2 very beautiful looking Porsches.
You can never say it's an ugly car, can you, the Porsche?
Yeah, that's very
it's
true.
a very pretty car.
I recently just asked a friend of mine, is there any color Porsche doesn't look good in? And there really is not even brown, a color I really don't like on cars, can look good on a Porsche. And that's incredible.
Oh, the Ladler and Fritsch train seems to be coming up to some traffic here.
Dennis Kurzer, that is. The yellow we've seen in turn 1 was for Piotr Zadaibe. But he's gotten going again. And I think we will have 2 more laps. If I didn't completely miscalculate it. And they are nose to tail coming across the line.
Forcing Ladler to take the wide line into T1.
Very tricky situation for Dennis Kurzer. I wouldn't want to be there.
Yeah, for sure.
But Lala through the inside. Can Fritsch get a good run off turn 2? Not quite, lost it a bit on the exit, and Dominic Lala up into P5.
Oh, just coming together with Dennis Kurzer there.
Dennis Kurzer went into the wall coming out of turn 3, and that completely stalled his run. And Dominic Lala now again with a very damaged car on the front right. He had that very early in the race. I'm sure he didn't want to have that again.
And unfortunately, Dominic Ladler has picked up a 5-second penalty for a race too many incident points now.
So that would pretty much hand back P5 to Timothy Fritsch. Oh, and Julian Chico must have had a bigger off somewhere, because that front of the car didn't look like this last time we saw him.
No, that does look a bit of a mess. Yeah, his last lap was 1:15, which is a good 2 seconds off the pace for Julian Chico.
Bit of a race for survival here at Orchard Road, but as long as you're still driving. Into the final sector for one last time. And Julian Chicot out of the final turn. He finally catches this elusive win that he should have gotten a long time ago, in all honesty, but here it is for
It was a
him,
well-deserved
finally.
victory for him.
Very much so. Eric Häusler also out of the final turn. And Enrico Brueniger will finish out the podium. Bruno Ribeiro is in 4th. Dominic Lala, of course, over the line in 5th, but he will have that 5-second penalty pending to be served. I think Timothy Fridge has none.
No, he
so
didn't.
that will promote Fridge back into 5th. And it was a very unlucky race for Dominic Lala. There's no other way to put it. But I think it still puts him into the championship winning position. And the last
I think given the race Dominic Ladler had, he can be fairly proud that he came 5th out of that, to be honest. Well, 6th. He has not had a lot of luck today, but he definitely had some fantastic pace.
Well, and that is your RCL episode 5 race of season 4. Next time, of course, we will have Road Atlanta. And we also got some other stuff to talk about, actually. Because next week, on Friday, there, of course, won't be an RCL. And the last few weeks, there actually was no race on that day. But it will return because you guys remember the RENNSPORT Founders League, I guess? It's coming back in a similar form, even though named differently, because it will be the RENNSPORT Nordschleife League. And this is actually the wrong one. 1 second. Of course.
It's not been good though for you, Lino.
Yeah, it hasn't been good for me either. The RNL Season 1 will take place on next Friday. We will have GT3s for 60-minute race. We extend the calendar to 5 races. The point system will be a bit different. More info on that will follow on Monday on the Discord. And we basically have a bit of a progressive system throughout, starting with 60 minutes GT3, then another class to switch things up with GT4 and M2 in between of them. And the GT3 races getting longer to 90 and 120 minutes respectively. And I think this system will allow us to do quite a lot more and more interesting stuff. And I'm really much looking forward to it. It has a bit of a new style to it.
Yeah, it's an interesting format, and I like the way that the GT3 races grow over time. And you've got the other classes thrown in there just for a bit of variety in between.
Yeah, and it's not only this change that will happen next week, so stay tuned for more. There will be more. We won't tell you what it is yet, especially Joachim Thunder, because he has to be curious. But there will be more to follow next week. But first of all, RENNSPORT Nordschleife League, all info will be published on Monday in the Discord channel for it, or in the Discord channel we will create for it. And you can still watch a trailer for the RENNSPORT Nordschleife League right now after we say our goodbyes, because we hope you enjoyed today's race. It was certainly very interesting. And you got something to say?
Yeah, I'm sure Dominic Ladler will maybe say otherwise, but I found it a fun race to watch. Thanks for everyone who took part.
Very much so, and we hope to improve on some other stuff as well. So, until next time, have a good time, have a great weekend, and goodbye.
Goodbye.